Wayne's. Hold on, I'm gonna get us in. Hold on. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Talk. See, I get to use my good voice when we're doing paranormal. I can't use that voice when we're doing the Centralist. People are like, "What is this? Some kind of weird sci-fi show?" No. Anyway, real quick, since I brought up Centralist, if y'all caught it last week, Michael and Jay and I were in. God knows how we didn't get in any trouble. Y'all should go listen to that church. Well, listen to, but really, y'all should go listen to. I'm not sure how we didn't get thrown off of half the networks we're on, but we must have skated very closely there. But tonight we're in Paranormal Talk. And we're going to get into some scary, hairy kind of stuff. I don't know nothing about paranormal people, so I have to refer to the crowd here that I'm with. I just go along for the ride. But anyway, I'm going to turn y'all over to Michelle for a couple of minutes while I go flip some servers on, and I'll be right back. Right back. There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Paranormal Talk panel. We are broadcasting live here on the International Public Radio via United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM, 105.3 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. Tonight we will be discussing, I guess, a little bit of spooky stuff. We're going to talk about researchers who have run into problems with things following home. We're going to talk about people who have gone out to sort of explore their thrill of adventure, I guess. Everybody wants to go check out the spooky place and don't think about what comes after that. So with that being said, we can slowly get started. So, and I think we lost our commander-in-chief here. So
that doesn't
there he is.
Hey, what the hell was that about?
Yeah, I don't know. You were there. You weren't there.
By the way, we got more books to give away. We might give away some. Y'all can see them back there behind me. Right. I've been giving away a lot of these L. Ron Hubbard books, the Writers of the Future Awards. Matter of fact, when this year's version comes out, we're going to give out about 10 copies of those as well. I'll be at the award ceremony this year, so y'all be forward to seeing me. Don't forget, before I even get started on this, and you will hear the commercial later on, vote. We have 5 shows up for People's Choice Awards, so get your asses out there and vote. If you know somebody that's already registered, get their asses to vote. No, I want y'all to vote for me. I don't care about the rest of them. No,
what?
Vote for me, man. What? Look, Outer Realm can fend for their damn self.
What?
He's just scared.
Man. Look, I don't care.
He's just scared. He's
I
scared. We're
think
going to
so.
beat him out.
Hey, there's some
He must be.
Look,
Yeah, he's just scared.
It's bad enough we got competition on our own network. Now we got competition from everywhere else. I was looking at some of the shows. Y'all might have a really good chance. I think y'all might make the nomination. I was going through your category. Ooh, man, y'all got some. There may be one or two of them might try to give you a run. The rest of they vote for them same on these people because they don't know what the hell they're voting for.
Good. Yay.
Writers of the Future might do really well. Chase and Prophecy told me they put themselves in religion and spiritual, so that's a tough category there. You know, God is God. You're going to vote for God, so I don't know who's going to go in there. I'm hoping to see all the rest of our shows in next year as the awards come back around again. I'd like to see the whole network in there, so I've been pushing some friends of mine to nominate us next year. I said, look, just nominate everybody. Because, in case y'all didn't know, it actually costs to nominate shows, so we just want to get, hey Jenny, we really want to get people in there. We want to get our shows in there. The more we get in there, the more chances we have of winning. The more trophies we get to get, the more plaques I get to put on the website and pick on my competition. Just in case y'all didn't know this, because this is our second year of winning Best Podcast in New Orleans. I will call into a radio show from another network like WWL or WRNO, and I'll brag. Well, what's the matter? Your little big network got its ass kicked yet again by my little bitty network on the internet. Ooh, shame on y'all.
You're bad.
Karma will get you.
Bad.
To throw me off his show. I'm like, it's true. We whooped y'all. And it's serious competition we're whooping. Serious competition we're whooping. And I hate to see it. It's just fun to pick on. And a good friend of mine works for RNO. He's like, I don't know how you keep whooping us. I said, because we have good content. Y'all got, I don't know what the hell y'all got. I said, some of y'all just playing music, so you're not even in the running for Best Network when you're playing music. Music's great. But really, it's the talk stations that are going to win. It's not going to be the music stations.
Is it ever?
It's music songs. They win for music stuff, but
yeah, because it's a podcast award show.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about for best broadcast in New Orleans.
Oh,
so
no.
All the networks combined, all 36 of us are all up, and this is the second year we whooped them, and it just makes it mad. And then a friend of mine's like, He's like, you're cheap. You're paying somebody else. I said, y'all got more money than I do, people. Come on, there's no way I'm paying anybody. I said, we're winning because we have good content. We have fun content. We have scary content. We got serious content. We got hardcore research. You can take your pick because it's all in there. And I said, that's why we keep winning. And I said, you know what? A little birdie tells me we're going to get a win in 2022. So you better be ready. They're always like, you can leave now if you like, Joe. You just go on your merry way. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have Michelle DeRoche with us tonight from the Outer Realm, and we have Lori Poppin with us from Angel Rock, and we have, who's this person down here? Oh, we have Amelia Passano from the Outer Realm, and we have Michael Angley from Red Pill News and from Discovery Paranormal. And so he hosts both shows, so before anybody gets confused. Hello, Peter. How you doing, man? Nice to see you from wherever you're coming from.
My split personality.
Yes, he does have a split personality. You can hear it on the Centralist last week.
But again, we love him.
Again, people, y'all should go check out the Centralist like it was really, really good. And to answer our question that came into me 2 days ago about Science and Beyond, no. Science and Beyond is hardcore science and beyond. It's just the last 3 shows are really more dealing with the award ceremony and the awards and what's going on with that, and the gala that I'm going to be speaking out for Writers of the Future. That's all wrapped up in there. So I'll go take a listen to that. You might actually learn something. So, anybody ever had a scary experience? I haven't. Go see something scary, man.
Do you know who I work with?
But I'm just saying, I live in New Orleans. I've been in haunted houses. I've been in haunted graveyards. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call a lady right after the show to talk about this again. But I have seen some stuff that's challenging. Like we'll go to this is a 330-year-old graveyard. It used to be in the city. NASA bought the land and tore everything down but the graveyards. And they keep maintaining the graveyard. I don't know if they're still burying people there or not. I think they are, because I do see mounds of sand from time to time, so it usually means they're still burying people.
That's how you get haunted rockets, just saying, man. Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, and it's scary because there's like 6 of these graveyards inside the NASA thing. It's a couple of private ones and a couple of big ones. But so, we decide one night, I think there was like 12, 14, 50, and I don't know, it's a bunch of us. So we head out to this graveyard. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we're like, all right. So we get out there, no fog, beautiful sky, nothing. So we pull up, we line up the cars, we go in, we jump the fence, a little little chain link fence about chest high. We jump in there, we start walking around. And as we're walking around, it's like the fog is coming out of the ground. It's just kind of lifting up, because you could see where the cars were. There was no fog, but where we were, it was about ankle deep, and then also it was about waist deep, so you couldn't see the headstones anymore. And then you started noticing the fog would just like roll up and go under, and then roll up and go under. I'm like, so stupid me, I'm gonna go over there and look and see what's making the fog do this. I see absolutely nothing. And then you start hearing these weird sounds. First, it sounded like an alligator yawning off in the distance. Not a big deal.
What does that sound like? For us Northerners.
I can't repeat it. I will find one. I will find one.
At least 4 people here that have no clue what the hell that sounds like.
It's kind of eerie and scary sounding. It's just this weird growlish yawn. And when you're in a graveyard, it kind of catches your attention. And I'm thinking, no, that must be an alligator. Maybe not. And then you hear the fence start jiggling. I'm like, wait a minute now. So I had Sam with me, my business partner. He jumps the fence. He's from the woods anyway. So he jumps the fence, starts walking outside the fence around, looking for something that might be jiggling the fence. Nothing's jiggling the fence. So he comes back in, and we're standing there. A couple of hosts were with us from the network. We're down there. Gia Scott and Greg Miller, who both used to host on the network, they were with us, and a couple other people besides that. And all of a sudden, you see the headstones. It just does this number. It just like falls forward, like it's going to fall over, and then it pops back up straight. I'm like,
maybe it was aliens.
So I said, it's time to go get the gun out the car. Like a gun's going to shoot a ghost anyway. Like it's going to have anything to do with the ghosties anyway. So I'm walking along, and then I see somebody started hollering, like something grabbed your foot. They're freaking out and jumping all over the place. And I'm like, what the hell? So I run over there, and I'm pulling on, because they're hung up on something. So I'm pulling. You can't see anything. It's fog. So stupid me reaches down there. And I come up with a handful of bonds. I'm like, okay, that's better.
Why?
That's better. So
Why?
This so we're going on. We go through this. They're filming everything. So we found these chairs, these benches. So we went and sat down the benches for a few minutes. And the fog receded. It just started to recede away. As we got quieter, the fog kind of went away. And as it went away, you started seeing all these gravestones. Everybody's freaked out because the first thing you see is about 120 of these graves are about this long. You can see they're about this long. They're not really, they're kids' graves, what they are.
Oh.
1770, 1771, somewhere up in
Oh
there.
no.
So that's a bit of plague that went through or something. There's a bunch of baby graves. So I'm talking about this, and I didn't hear it then, but on the video, you can hear someone crying. And I mean, crying really good, too. I mean, just then you hear someone else, like 3 or 4 people crying. I mean, you can hear on the video really, really well. I didn't see anything the whole entire time, didn't hear anything the whole entire time. Now, 2 of the psychics with us was just freaking out. They wanted to leave. They just couldn't handle it. They wouldn't actually got back in the vehicles and closed the doors. Whatever it was making them crazy. So we hang out for a little while longer. You see a couple of weird things. So we went home, and that's when the shit happened. 2 people must have bought something. They just flipped out. I mean, they flipped out. I couldn't even describe. They flipped. They're screaming. They're hollering. They're punching walls, going crazy. I grabbed one of them by the throat and just lifted him over the wall. I said, "I'm gonna hold you here till you can chill out." And then one of the other members, one of the psychics, came up and started doing something, telling them something, and then they just kind of slumped over and relaxed. This went on for like 2 hours, and it was really, really, really freaky. But I still, to this day, didn't see anything out there. So we run the videotape. We actually have several cameras out there. So we're running the videotape, and you see what looks like 4 or 5 little kids running across the field in front of us. One time, there was a grown adult man, he walked through Sam, just walked right through him. And Sam was one of the ones that brought something back with him. And then on the other side, I forgot who it was, Gia. There was a woman that came walking this way, and Gia was walking this way, and they intersected. She was one of the other ones that flipped out. And it's just so weird what you were seeing, but none of us seen anything with the naked eye the whole entire time we were there. It creeped me. I didn't want to go back after that. I was like, well, look, if I'm seeing things moving around on camera, I'm not seeing things when I'm walking around there. That bites. And you would have figured in the fog, it would have at least made the fog move. But they figured out when we seen the fog rolling over the graves, they were actually coming at the graves at that point. Can't tell you if that was true or not because I didn't see anything on cam that suggested that. When you counted what we seen, which was about 7 different individuals, and you counted where we seen the fog rolling, which you seen on camera, which was about 7 different tombstones. So it was just the whole thing was just weird as hell. So I said, all right, I finally get brave enough to go back. About 3 months later, go back. So we're gonna go back in the daytime, right? So we get there at dusk, and it's starting to get dark, and you just hear this person just let out this horrific scream, like someone was just cutting them to pieces or something. So didn't see anything, and then on camera you see what looks like a guy maybe in his 30s, 35. He's just running. I mean, just running across the yard. And then all of a sudden you see him kind of swoop. There was a hangman's noose. Just caught him, and I looked all over the tree for a hangman's noose. I couldn't find it anywhere. I found the tree because I could recognize the tree from the video, but I couldn't find any noose on it.
Wow.
But when Billy climbed up the tree and looked, there was a mark. The rope had grown into the tree. There was still a piece there. But whatever was left would actually, a tree kind of grown over it, and then you could see the little piece that was stuck. So I forgot who it was that went back. I think it was one of the ladies went back to release him. She wanted to release him. She said, "This is crazy. There's too much hostility in this graveyard." She said, "Whatever was here," and then she freaked out because she said she felt some dark entity was protecting the graveyard from her. So we sent 2 or 3 other people back, and nobody seemed to be able to get back in this place without having some kind of horrific experience. So finally, a good friend of mine who's a really good psychic, and she's really crazy anyway, she goes back, stands in the middle of the graveyard, she starts screaming at her, "You motherfuckers, I'm challenging you now. You want to come get me? Come on, because I'm going to drag all of you out of here with me, and then I'm going to release you in some haunted ass place you can't never get out of." And graveyards did a shit now. You go back, it's just peaceful, beautiful, quiet. I have no idea what she did with it, where she took them. But since then, the place has been it's eerily quiet. As a matter of fact, I just made a video of it just recently. It's one of the places we're going to schedule an investigation on later this year, along with a couple other places around here that are graveyards. But, like I said, I'm a ufologist. I'm not a paranormal guy. I'm not out there throwing salt on people. Now, don't get me wrong. I've dabbled, I'm pretty good with magic and stuff because I was raised in it. And, I also studied with my boy's grandpa for quite some time. Well, grandson, I should say, for quite some time. And, Linda studied with Gabby Yvonne because she does white magic. But, I was with Crowley's group, and that's how I learned how to do it. And it still didn't explain anything to me that was actually going on in this place. But now it's quiet, so now we're going to go check out the rest of them. So maybe I'll send them to visit y'all.
I'll put the pot of coffee on for them.
He's like, come on, baby. We'll have scones and coffee.
Yeah, scones.
We'll have some scones and coffee. I just don't know. I mean, I've been in homes down here that feel haunted. Every now and then, like the house we had on the beach, there used to be this black hand. You would see it on the white door. It would just, big hand, it would just appear on the door in the hallway, and it would sit there for a while, and then it would leave. And it was weird because we had nightshade growing outside the house. It had a really pretty flower group, these big white flowers. It was nightshade. It used to grow right there inside the house. They also had a magnolia tree growing on the other side. So you had the stuff to make whatever you wanted to down here, and then you had the magnolia, which increases psychic abilities. So whoever lived there before us was obviously into witchcraft, which was funny because we were heavy into it when we moved in. And it was the place, this place just popped up to us. We were driving home one day we went actually to see, we went to a conference actually. And we left the conference at the Broadwater Motel, which doesn't exist anymore. Katrina wiped it out. And as we were driving by, we seen a little bitty sign in window for rent. We pulled in. The guy says, yeah, it's $450 a month, cables included, water's included, and the lights are real cheap here. So I gave him the deposit right then and there. I was like, yeah, we'll use this as a weekend cabin. It was cheap. So we move into this place. The first night we move in, this storm comes up out of nowhere. It's shaking the house, rattling the windows, lightning bursting down in the grass and shit. It was crazy. And then after that, we stayed there for about 3 years. That house is extremely haunted. Anybody who came there had really weird dreams. All kind of weird shit happened there. The house, people were possessed. It was a crazy place. It was a beautiful place because it was right on the beach. I mean, you walked out your double glass door, slide doors in the bedroom upstairs, and the balcony overviewed the beach. It was beautiful, but it was a freaky place. Nowadays, this house is much quieter, much more peaceful. Out of all the places I've ever lived, this place seems to be the most quiet as far as that kind of stuff goes. It seems to be very quiet. There might be some little 3-foot guys running around in here, but I don't think they're alien. I don't think they're ghosties or anything. Apparently, they don't like this place. Well, there's so much salt here, Just recently, just with this little storm that was in the Gulf, my whole yard got a layer of salt water in it, about 1 inch thick the other day. It just sat there for a day and then, washed its way out. So if they are here, they're stuck. If somebody brought something in, they got to catch a ride to get out. So I'm kind of like, But it just doesn't seem like that. There's none of that weird things, or weird dreams, or slamming doors. And since I'm on these new meds, I dream all the time now. It sucks, by the way. Because unfortunately for me, I get a lot of dreams that tend to come true about other people. So I had kind of cut that off. And now that I'm on these new meds, I can't seem to cut it back off. It's like back again. So hopefully I don't dream about anybody I know. I've had weird dreams, like just stupid ass dreams.
I'm so
I woke
sorry.
up this morning. I'm like, I must be doing crack or something. Anyway, that's some of the experiences I've had.
If you dreamt that you're gay, you probably have a tendency, man.
No,
just
that's
saying.
not fortunately for me.
There was a naked guy in your dream saying, "Hey, baby, hey."
I've never dreamt about naked guys.
You got to confront those feelings, Joe. That's all I'm saying.
That's feelings Joe don't have to worry about. Fortunately for Joe, he's real fortunate in who and what I am. I've never had any issues like that. But
look at Bruce Jenner. He lived half his life and came out of the closet.
Yeah, but he was always a little weird, though.
Now he's running for politics.
he was always a little weird.
So I want to say something that we haven't even mentioned. Every one of us here was absolutely 100% right about this UFO report not containing anything. I mean, all the hoopla for months that was out there of people. I mean, the Discovery Channel blocked off the entire time slot for the evening. They had hours to fill with nothing to say. They had nothing to say. I love it. I love every bit of it. So F them.
I don't know what they expected was going to come out of that either.
Nothing.
Uncle Sam's not willing to give any secrets up, and neither is any other country for that matter. I mean, anything big. You get trickles and dripples, and every now and then one of the ministers or somebody from one of the countries will come out and go forward. But for some reason, they don't want us to know. Or you know what? It's not us. They don't care if I know. They just don't want y'all to know.
But it's a gray area. It's so bizarre because here are people living their lives every day, and then here are these objects floating around the aircraft carrier, like just breaking security and saying, "Ha ha, here we are, nothing you can do," and they can't say, "Well, we don't know who it is or what it is or why it is." That's insane, man. To really ignore it, that's just bold face. Okay, since we can't explain it, we're going to ignore it. That's really it.
Because they think it's ghosts.
It's ghosts.
That's what they think. It's ghosts.
Really?
It's dead sailors from the past coming in and haunting.
All energy is interconnected, buddy. It doesn't matter if it's ghost or alien or whatever. And aliens die too. Everything is energy, and all energy is interconnected.
Yeah, but they take a lot longer to die than we do.
I don't know that.
Way longer.
I can't say. I've never even met one.
Yeah. Talk to a contact.
Unless you're an alien, Joe. But I've never met you in person either.
You never know.
We're going to come down to your house.
If you ever think you hear Santa Claus tapping around on your roof, run like hell. That's all I can.
We're gonna come down and visit you. And the po' boys are on me.
Oh man, speaking of that, the new restaurant opened up.
Hey, how's that?
Check out that later. But
I want to know what an alligator sounds like when it yawns.
Actually, it's kind of funny you said that, because if you go down to the French Quarter, most of the old restaurants are haunted.
Oh, squirrely.
I mean, they are. I mean, you know what, dude? Move around.
I'm going to reference you forever on the alligator yawning thing, man. You just went down to the
I'll get you a clip of it.
top 10. I got Cuomo's #1 saying, "I only lied to protect the truth, man." I love that one. But you know what? I thought it was an alligator yawning. I love that.
I'll have to get one and play for you. The little ones don't sound the same as the big ones do, but the big ones sound creepy as hell.
Do alligators become ghosts? Just trying to get us back to the paranormal somehow.
I don't know. They might. They
eat people that become ghosts.
Yeah, I guess you could say that they do eat people that become
That's true.
Ghosts. It's weird though, because there's so much weird energies, and there's so many towns down here that were big towns and now are gone. They're just dust.
I've heard there's increased paranormal activity all around the Gulf, man. What's going on with that?
It's weird down here right now. It's a strange place to be living right now. I mean, everybody's real happy, we're all happy. We're released, and everybody's having fun. And like yesterday when we were out and about, I mean, people were all over the beaches and stuff. But the paranormal scene down here is big. There are at least, how can I say this? At least 40 new paranormal groups throughout the Gulf Coast area. And it's a lot to keep up with, because they'll write to me. "Oh, Joe, who the hell are you? And what experience do you have?" Because don't get me wrong, I've got some of the finest ghost hunters in the world on the network. So if you're going to come talk to me, you better at least know your stuff, because I don't want to be wasting my time. And people, if you listen to me, I'm not trying to be mean, but truly, I mean, we got Canada's most haunted and America's most haunted on air with us right now. We got one, we got good psychics. We got good people who can feel stuff. I mean, I'm not really feeling. You're gonna have to come up with some good stuff if you're gonna come see me, or if you want to go. Because somebody the other day asked, could I get him into such and such place? I said, yeah, I can send him to Lori's house anytime, but you can go on Lori. Well, on that note, a lady from Ontario writes from me the other day. She goes, "Do you know any good psychics or anybody who's good at clearing stuff?" And I just had to pause for a minute. I said, "Have you listened to any of the shows on the network?" She's serious. I mean, she's like, well, I said, look, I said, don't take this the wrong way. I said, I gave her 5 shows to go listen to. I said, you listen to these people and then contact them. I said, because I can't help you. I said, it's not what I do. I said, unless it's a little gray alien running around your house, there's nothing I can do for you. I said, I'm not into running off ghosties. I said, that's energy I can't waste. But anyway, who's next? Michelle's up next. What you got? And then who's Lori? And then who's this redhead down here? Amelia, and then Michael.
What have I got?
Well, it's not that I'm fearful at all, for that matter, but I do startle, and I don't like surprises. And I have been to many parts and places in the world that, maybe I felt a little bit aloof about. I've had experiences. Every time you go into a location to help someone, you take a chance that something is going to follow you back. And I think in the early days of my being green, I think I just sort of didn't pay enough attention to grounding or taking care of myself. It's not that I went in there full of myself either. I was still learning. And, one time something followed me back, and the experience humbled me very much. And I really didn't realize it had followed me back. And I didn't bank, because I sort of like mindset is always a thing with me. Acknowledgement is empowerment. Just don't give it to it. Go on with your life, stay positive, keep positive vibrations, all that stuff. But it affected a member of my family, and it affected pretty much everybody on the team at the time. And a member of my family ended up losing her vision, blind as a bat, for exactly 30 days. And took her to every specialist, had every test under the sun done. And I would say probably about 29 days in, my family doctor looked at me and he goes, "Have you worked on anything maybe that could have come back?" Because he was pretty open-minded. And I thought about it at the very last place I'd been, which is a very severe location. And I went, maybe. So I just threw it out there and, meditated on it and sort of popped into it. And at that point, reversed a lot of energy, did a lot of work. And literally within a few hours, she came down, looked at me and said, "I can see." Just like that. But her vision was never the same. It wasn't like that miraculous, but it was something nonetheless. And that humbled me, and it changed the way I did my research from that point on, which was with a great deal more respect. Like I said, it's not that I went there cocky. I just didn't go in there thinking it was going to be a problem at all. To be honest, I had a job to do, and it was to help these individuals, and that's what I did. So I think as researchers, we have to bear in mind that we may not really get affected because maybe our head is right, maybe we ground, maybe we find ways to protect ourselves, but things still have a way of working their way into your life, into your families. They will look, for the weakest link. They will go for that. They will work, you're the way in, basically. So that for me was terrifying in a whole different way because my safe place was infiltrated. And it was done so very slowly, very cunningly, to the point where I didn't even see it coming. So not so easy to do that anymore, let me tell you, after that experience, which was probably my second year in the field. Now they would be hard pressed to try. And if they did, they would have to really run. So that's my main story.
What's up, Lori?
Powerful. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, thank you. Man, live and learn was an experience I'll never forget and I'll never repeat.
Well, you know what it is? I say to many people, especially you can usually engage when talking to somebody where they're kind of in their experience with the paranormal. And I find so many people think that they're infallible as human beings. Like you see people, I get a lot of people that contact me. Usually it's male, probably late teens to mid 20s, bit of a loner, wanting to fit in, seeing all these paranormal shows on TV. So what do? They go to a lot of these famous places that have been investigated on TV. And they go in there with nobody, with no knowledge, and then they take something from the place, thinking it's a souvenir, take it home, and all hell breaks loose at their home. And then they can't figure out what's going on. Why is this happening? Because I find so many people believe, like even when you watch people on TV that provoke, spirits, this is for television entertainment. They don't realize, what they're dealing with, or the fact that people think they're so infallible. You are one tiny little puny human. You're dealing with things that have been around since the beginning of time, many times. You have no idea what you're dealing with. And again, like you said, Michelle, you're well-versed now. Same as myself, I've never found out what happened, why it happened, and when it happened in our old home. I worked in palliative care. I worked out in the community. I worked in a very low vibrational area, a lot of murder, a lot of suicide, drug abuse, violence, and was there when Spirit passed. Now, did somebody have an attachment that followed me home? Because I wasn't aware of my gifts at that time. People around me were, but I wasn't. I was just always sort of very intuitive. And it took a long time and speaking to a lot of people, but I agree with everything that you've said, that, grounding yourself, understanding how energy works, maintaining a high vibrational energy, which is not a match for something lower vibrationally. But in the end, what we realized was it had to come from within us. We had to band together as a family, stay united. I still believe that one of the most powerful emotions is love. And again, many of the things that you've mentioned. But that is the thing that I find scary. Like when you're like Dell, he's working nights tonight, so I guess he's probably asleep. I didn't go downstairs, but he's been thrown 15 feet across the kitchen now by something unseen. He didn't even tell me for 2 days, because he still to this day has to debunk it 6 ways to Sunday. So he took out his electrical meter and he's checking all the circuits and everything. He finally realized there's nothing wrong with the electrical, but you can lift a 180-pound full-grown man and throw it 15 feet across the kitchen and there's nobody there. So like I say, this is the thing that I find is a lot of people either don't believe in it, or if they've seen it or they are want to do this type of thing, is they try to emulate what they see on TV, realizing that it's not reality TV. Second of all, and if I always encourage people that yes, it's great to have new people wanting to learn and stuff, but see if you can find a reputable team around you that is willing to mentor and train you. And even someone as gifted as yourself, look, like you said in the beginning, look what happened. And it can happen, and it usually bites us in the butt somewhere.
I was 2 years in it, working with someone who had been in the field for 10 years already.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
what I think I learned. It doesn't matter how much you think you know. It doesn't matter. You could think, you become more well known or whatever you want to know. I always find that something in the spirit world usually has a way of knocking us on our butts and right back down to the ground again anytime.
We're all students. I've been doing this 18 plus years. I still learn something new every day, and I'm still humble.
I agree. So I guess that's my story. There's things that I always, before I finish, I always say there's a fine line between fear and standing your ground and recognizing dominion, that yes, you do have the strength, you do have the power, but if you don't, to reach out to somebody that maybe has experience with this, or even if you want to learn, but arrogance will get you nowhere. So I think that's my message right there.
On a side note, Dell told me Laura Lee hooked up some wires to the refrigerator to shock his butt.
Sure, okay. I haven't got a clue.
I'm just kidding anyway, before anybody takes it serious.
I haven't got a clue.
Well, I had to say just kidding, because somebody might take that serious and start harassing me. So What's up, Amelia?
Hi, Jojo. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're getting there, slowly but surely.
I hope you feel better
as
soon.
As long as I can talk, I'm okay.
There you go. For me, very educational moment. I wasn't practicing my gifts at the time when I built this house. I was 23. Very green. Green in every way. I just assumed that because we were building a house that it wouldn't be haunted, because Hollywood always says the houses are haunted because they're old. Nobody ever told me that the land has everything to do with it. And I live on prime land that the War of 1812 was fought on. So I moved into everything that could possibly happened land. And I reached out to a lot of different people. And the one that helped me the least was the church. And I was at Mass every week. I won't even go there because he's actually in prison right now. Oh, but anyways, I had to go to different churches to get somebody to come in. He would not walk past the foyer to bless the rest of the house, said that he could bless it from there. And I knew something was deadly wrong when he wouldn't walk further. I had all the signs of the bloody Amityville except for the blood walls. I had the odors. I had the damn flies. The flies were the first thing to throw me thinking I'm losing my freaking mind. I didn't sleep. It affected everything in me. The way I behaved, the way I interacted with other people, my sleeping, my eating. I was skin and bones. It was crazy. And the loneliness, because I had moved here from Toronto and it was an hour away and I didn't know anybody here. So I was a prime target. And I couldn't even, at the time I was a smoker, I couldn't even go outside and have a cigarette with my coffee without being yelled at to get the F off their property, off their land. So through many years of struggle, and until I actually went through my NDEs and I started researching my gifts and learning how to use them, because I was always taught, where I've discussed on other episodes, not to reveal my gifts and not to practice them. Once I started opening up and gaining mentors, and Michelle included, it changed. Learning how to ground properly, not just ground. You need to protect yourself in meditation. Don't think you can just meditate. You're opening doors. And like Michelle and Laura Lee said, you need to humble yourself. These powers are greater than you. And what they're showing you, or whatever Hollywood's showing you, is just a small equation of what really can happen. I learned to respect them in a certain way, and then I had to learn how to cross them over. So it was a big lesson for me. When you have British soldier spirits in your back, you have Indigenous people in your backyard, your front yard. I can take photos at night and you'll see things. It was a lot to deal with. Again, the assumption, the asset of you and me kind of scenario. Thinking, oh, it's a new house, there won't be any energy to it. Never thinking about the land. That's how naive I was. So I tell people, when you're looking for something and you're wishing that it's haunted, be careful what you wish for. Living with it is a whole other thing.
Agreed.
You know, it affected my marriage. It affected my daughter. It affected everything and everyone that was coming in and out of here. So
I can see that scary ass shit.
it was hard because I was young and alone. So I think now it would be a different story. Plus, I've got Michelle would just like kick their asses. But like it's different now. But when you go back, I've always had experiences my whole life. But when I look back at that particular time, I can't believe how naive I was. I can't believe how I just thought that, yeah, I'll throw some holy water at it. It's going to go away. Just made it even more angry. So yeah, you know, it's important to research the land. If you find yourself in a place like this, it's important for you to research the history in your neighborhood and anywhere within, I would say, 50 kilometers or 100 miles. You know, it's just so important, especially if you're gifted, because you are like a beacon of light to them. And you need to know and learn how to dim that light so you can stay safe. And your family, because they'll go after your family first.
Joe needs to dim his light right now too.
Yeah, it's distracting, isn't it?
It
is a little distracting.
It's very Mardi Gras.
So there we go.
No one's lifting their top up, Joe. No one's lifting their top up. You can keep the beads.
That's a good
I'm so glad that you said that about that it goes after your family, because I would have people that had worked in the paranormal field say, "You send that to my house, I'll kick it right in the butt," and I'd have to say, you need to realize that it doesn't do what you say. It goes after things you don't control. Your health, your finances, the young people with any children,
your loved ones,
young people. It doesn't come after you. And even
weakest link
that have said, well, you know, leave my children alone. Why don't you come after me? Well, you've just revealed your weakness now for sure. That's exactly where it goes. Same thing. My kids were affected. One of the autism still asks me in this house, Mom, there's no ghosts here, right? And I always ask him why, because why would you bring that up out of nowhere?
Yeah, he's highly sensitive. Yeah,
it's scary.
It's highly sensitive.
Joe would say, "Oh, you know, my little bug-eyed friends came to visit." I'm like, "What?" So don't be saying it. So I don't want to hear that crap. Like, what you got down here, babe?
You know what? I'm listening to all this talk. You guys are very sweet. And I think that your nature dictates how you are in situations. Like, I'm kind of a douche when it comes to ghost hunting. And when I go into a place, I don't let things take control of me. I take control of it. And we've been in some heavy, you guys too. You've been in some heavy places, man. Serial killers, and and what Amelia said was great, because tomorrow I'm actually going to be talking about hauntings that are tied to the land. You actually said it. You actually took everything I was thinking earlier and kind of
Don't
put it out
tell
there.
anyone.
Because the Amityville Horror House, I just read an article the other day on how Amityville is trying to distance themselves from the horror house and the whole thing. And they're never going to do it. There is no other town on Long Island. There's no Sayville Horror House. There's no Montauk Horror House. It'll always be Amityville. So they should embrace it, right? They should be like, hey, but at the same time, they still sell their permits to people for filming and that type of thing. So I don't know. I don't think they want too much distance. But it's been a long time that I've always felt that the energy there was tied to the land, and it was that DeFeo, and he just died in March, and I believe that he died in prison. I believe that he went right back to that house upon death. I mean, that's usually what they do, and the house is still active. But check this out. The whole land, I don't know. I won't go into all the specifics, but of course there was Native Americans there, and things were pretty friendly between them and the Dutch and the English back in the 1600s, early 1600s. But there was a lot of suffering. There was measles and whatever, because the white man brought all these diseases that the Native Americans didn't have an immunity for, and then it decimated their whole culture. I think by the late 1600s there was maybe 125 Native Americans left on Long Island, which is insane. But when things are tied to the land, you need to know the history to fight that. And I think that, like that DeFeo, whatever it was, influenced him to do the murders, and he went and killed that family. And I don't believe that they all slept through a 30-06 going off, a 30-30 he used. You know how loud 30-30 is, Joe. You don't fire that multiple times without helping people wake up. So there was something going on there in that house, and there was rituals. I feel rituals, but yeah, man, the land is hard. It's one thing if they died in a home, you can isolate the person, but the land is a different story, and it's deeply rooted, and you have to go to that root. And
told me there was a well there or something that was tied to.
So Amelia, what did you do to chase them away, though, or to neutralize the place?
I did a few different things. I had met someone who practiced shamanism, and they told me to paint a plaque in memory and thank them. Trees is something that you can do, but I had just planted a whole bunch of trees, so I wanted to do something different. And I went out and I thanked them. And I poured water on the ground and put fruit on the ground as well. And then I did the Catholic route. I tried to touch every area. I did the Catholic route of getting another priest in here. And then I did the anointing of all windows and doors on my own, reciting the St. Michael's prayer. And I hate the smell of sage, but I took that route because I knew that I had Indigenous people here as well. So I was trying to respect everybody that could have crossed the land, any type of religion, and give back to the earth in the same way. And I never had a problem again with any of the Indigenous, but I still have problems with the British soldiers at times. That hasn't gone, because they come and go.
I would suggest playing Slim Whitman. that one particular where he's yodeling.
Oh yeah, you want to get rid of anything, man.
Wasn't that in Mars Attacks?
Yeah,
that's what
killed the aliens.
Oh my God.
Slim Whitman. Well, I believe in that, though. I believe that there are sounds that can drive things out. I mean,
Yeah. Well, Michelle and I have cleared the property as well. Quite often, we stay on top of it and we keep it protected. But it's also there's when energy shifts.
Ghosts in hell waiting for Michelle. She got her own fan club going on down there.
Who says we send them back to hell?
No, they're not crossing over. They're just being pushed back. Like, look at Gettysburg, right? And right now that there's all these people there reenacting. Don't you think that draws things out like crazy?
That's the problem here, Michael. They do a reenactment just down the hill for me, like at the bottom of the mountain. Yeah.
It's provoking.
Yes.
There are some researchers who specialize in reenactments to draw out activity. So it's definitely something that works.
Might even be able to perceive it as mocking.
Well, they might.
it angers me when I see that's the one thing with the pandemic these last 2 years, because it's June 5th when they do it. They haven't been able to do it. And we've noticed, Michelle and I have noticed it's a lot quieter here. But there's also residual hauntings, and those you get used to, and they're there. So it's okay, but when you have a spirit, when you have a spirit manifesting itself from combat boots up, you get a little uncomfortable.
You guys had ley lines running all through there too. But you know what? Talking about soldiers, I'll tell you a quick story. My friend's nephew, little Russell, was going. That's Lansing, New York, right? And around the lakes there were soldiers. Of course, there was Sullivan's March and all that, right? He was going into the elementary school. He looks out into the field, and there's two soldiers running at him in full gear, right? And they had muskets or whatever, and he's like running it. He's a little kid. He ran into the school, and he said they ran right into the wall, and they were gone, which was amazing. And then my friend Nicole, her father bought this house upon the hill, or land anyway. That land was the first aid station, and they treated a lot of people. A lot of people died there. She had the room downstairs, and we'd be hanging out. And she had a full length, from floor to ceiling doors, sliding doors, and have these slats of shade. You'll see people walking past there at night. There was shadow figures walking past constantly.
Wow!
And at 11:04 every night, somebody would knock on the door in the garage, feverishly, like bop, 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 bop. And then they'd open up the door. There's nobody there. How cool is that?
Not if you're living there, but yeah, it's cool.
I would like to make reference to a comment that you made, Michael, with respects to being aggressive and not putting up with this or that, going into an investigation. I'm very unorthodox in the way I do things, and I don't take any crap. And I didn't even on that night. But I've seen even some of the most seasoned researchers with the same mentality end up with something following them back. Because things like that tend to look at it as, a challenge. Challenge.
Especially if you invite them back. I'm not saying that one way's better than the other. I'm saying that there's a lot of paths that lead up the mountain.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? I'm just saying,
It's our personalities.
Well, I guess you have to investigate with me one day.
You would have to investigate with Michelle. She doesn't take any crap. I've been there.
This is what draws us in, though.
Gettysburg. But before I do that, I'm thinking about Saskatchewan first. Well, recently, well, we get all these weird ass reports from UFOs to ghosts, Chinese, all kind of shit. Well, I was talking with Laura Lee about this a couple weeks ago. There's nothing up there. So
there's trees.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell
it's trees and a pipeline waiting to be cut into.
I mean,
there's moose up there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get all these reports of these weird things that people seeing on their phones that they've been there, and then I've been getting reports of things walking through the woods, and so I'm kind of curious. Gettysburg is interesting because last time I was in Gettysburg, which is a different place outside of D.C., a couple of friends of mine said, let's go to Gettysburg right quick. And I'm like, it's not exactly right quick. It's like 4 hours.
The Family
left.
Dollar version.
So we get in the car, we drive out there, right? So we get there, and it's kind of a little foggy that day. I'm sitting out there, and all of a sudden you see a bunch of Confederate soldiers walking towards you. I'm thinking, oh shit, we're going to see ghosts. And they drove it down. It was a reenactment. They all got their cameras. I taking pictures. Like,
some guy eating a sandwich. You're like, it's a ghost.
It was funny.
That ghost has a po' boy.
You showed yourself to me.
No, it was just too funny. Because I was with some serious investigators, and they're all like, look, we're gonna see it. Look at this. And I'm looking. I was a little suspicious. I'm like, no, come on, really? And then all of a sudden, you see these guys. You get close to me. These guys look alive to me. They don't look dead.
Well, I believe I'm going down there, right? Because I'm about to head out west, but I wanted to wait for the reenactments to be over and done with, and all the glitz and whatever, because those days following, it's not going to stop. Because when they resurrect those entities, man, and I have a list of the top 10 spots in Gettysburg that are most haunted, where just plain old people take a pic and they see ghosts, man.
I've seen a lot of pictures from Gettysburg.
There was a lot of bloodshed there, though.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. Only for 2 days. You know that it was only a 2-day battle.
Yeah.
I still want to know why my phone keeps showing me in Saskatchewan 5,000 feet above the ground. It's irritating.
Can you
It's like
repeat?
5
How do you pronounce that?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. That sounds like the sauce that I put
Saskatchewan.
on.
Yes, Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Hey, I'm American. I can pronounce it however the hell I want.
Yeah, from
So-
Nar-
and
you're
you're
from
Southern
Nar-
American
Okay,
to
New
boot.
Orleans.
Wait, what other time? What you said, Laura? I didn't hear you because
I
other
would
was.
say Regina, which is in Saskatchewan.
It does. I mean, I just keep getting these weird
Like
reports
an
out there.
enter.
It's now
Regina.
they're in some little town way out on the East Coast, some little island out there, like 50 people living. I keep getting these weird reports from out there.
But Prince Edward Island.
Hey, look, I don't know. All I know is it's in Canada. It's not too far from where Shag Harbor happened.
Oh, so it's in
above
Nova
it.
Scotia.
Yeah, so
Nova Scotia, yeah.
all I know is it's cold as bleep up there. That's all I ever hear.
You might
Labrador?
find
They said they don't. It said it don't even hardly ever get warm up there. It's like what the hell?
Labrador, because there's an iceberg right there. Labrador
I've
and
never been
Halifax.
there. I can say I've
Yeah.
never been there, but I'm kind of curious. But they won't let me in Canada anymore. Ever since I snuck in last time, they're like, you can't go back.
You're on the tag list just a little
You
bit.
you
huh?
say you're crazy American. You get unless it's now they let me go to BC all day long for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I think some kind of a way we kind of annexed BC. I'm not exactly sure what happened there because during the COVID crisis, Americans were coming and going all day long. So I'm not sure what happened up there. But the
Well,
rest
they're
of y'all
completely open now.
yeah, well, everybody's kind of getting freebeat up now. It's getting a little weird. But I was thinking about that. Now think about this, and this we'll go around the list here. But so we all know we've been locked down for 18 months or so. Some a little bit longer, some a little bit less. So what were all the ghosties doing when we were locked down? I didn't. I got to be
Hiding
honest
from
about
us.
this. I didn't hear hardly any reports in that 18 months.
I'll let Michelle speak for us.
Okay, Michelle, you got
Cat
it.
activity.
I didn't personally. That's why I'm asking.
Oh
Michelle,
my
you can go
God. I I really have different theories on that. I don't think they change one way or another. I think when there are more people around, they're able to feed off that energy a little bit more, and it's not always in a malicious way. It just helps them to get around a little easier. It's like going for a walk, wondering why you're so exhausted, and you shouldn't be. Could just be you might have just got zapped, But I mean, the type of cases that come our way are significantly different, and it has not stopped for us. It's been pretty much the same. And again, I do believe when people are in more of a bad mindset or a bad way, maybe extra depressed, extra anxiety, too much time spent together in one location causes a little bit of arguing and a little bit of heaviness. I think there are things out there that look for specific traits like that. So it has not slowed down for us at all.
Sounds kind of true. Lori Lee, sorry, I'm getting confused here in my old age.
I have to agree. Even we've had some activity at this house, passerby things or seen things. Excuse me, even in my group on Facebook or wherever else. I'd say lots of people have seen lots of activity, and a lot of people asking why. And I have to agree with you, Michelle. What I usually explain is collectively around the world, between the anger, the fighting, the depression, the amount of suicide, there's such a low vibrational energy collectively around the world. So if anything, I've seen just as much. I haven't had people say they've seen less. I've actually, and it seems to be just a little bit more violent in certain areas too.
Military helicopter, sorry.
They love you. They come
Yes,
and
they
listen.
do.
They're like,
Man,
"What
black."
is this witch talking about
It was so
tonight?"
loud. I was wondering if you guys could hear it.
We got this new system's got.
Sorry, Lori.
That's okay.
What? I can't hear
How
you.
important.
Yeah.
I have come for you.
No, so I have to agree with you. No,
Aliens.
I have not seen less. Definitely have not seen less. If anything, more or at least the same amount. But again, I have to agree with you.
They don't just go away.
they don't
If
go-
anything, if you're at home and you have ghosts, you're going to notice them more. I always work from home, but
Well,
we're always pretty aware of
what I
noises.
meant. What I meant was all these haunted locations. No one's been visiting them for months. Actually,
We're
for
bored.
years.
We're waiting.
It must be lonely.
It's
Yeah, I was thinking. Wouldn't they be more active now that people can actually go back to? Hey, look, it's people again. All right.
Well, why? They can be anywhere.
They might show off more now.
But they can pick up the energy collectively around the world. I'd say they had a steady supply of, if there's something more lower vibrational, definitely had a steady supply, if you want to call it food or whatever. So
I think haunted locations, anybody going back to some of these places to do tours, for example, might be in for a real treat because they might be a little bit excitable. It's like,
Well, that's what we're
yeah.
hoping, because there's several groups down here going to start opening up. I know Dark Matter's going to get into it. I heard Bloody Mary's getting into some stuff. One of the ladies we're talking about bringing on networks getting into some stuff. It seems like everybody's expecting the activity to be heavier now down here.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll find out as the groups start to get out and investigate and stuff like that. Because I get these people that call me and say, "Can you tell me the best place to go?" I'm like, "No." I said, "John, no, you know." I say, "I do, but I'm not going to tell you. That's how you know who you are." I said, I can't be sending people where you may find yourself in danger, because some of the places we go, really, if you're not a pro, you shouldn't be going in there. Something's going to get you, something's going to mess with you, something's going to mess with your family or something else. So we don't necessarily recommend for rookies to go in. And I got to say, when I was younger, that was different. I just say,
I feel that way about buffets, man.
Yeah, we should feel like that about buffets.
You know what? Like, it's been my experience that a lot of these they don't have a sense of time. You know what I mean? So if something doesn't happen for a length of time, they don't really know it until you're there again asking them questions, and once they realize you're there for them.
When we start talking ghosty, shit starts moving around in my office.
Of course, man. that gun you got may go off, man. You better unload that thing.
Martha is haunted. Martha has its own spirit. That's why
I'm waiting for you to shoot a hole in the roof, man. When you raise that thing up, I was
Martha don't play, man. Oh, you ought to see. I'm getting Martha a mate, so we ain't gonna get into that right now. We'll save that.
Oh my gosh!
We'll save that for Friday.
My biggest concern with haunted locations and people visiting them without experience is how many of them are decrepit and falling apart, and you're going in there alone. And I know people who have gone in alone. I'm like, what if you fall through a floorboard? Like, you're in the middle of nowhere. Are you crazy? Mm-hmm. Just that, not to mention you are trespassing. So there's another charge.
It doesn't mean it's haunted. It's because it's abandoned, right?
No, it doesn't.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you, Michelle.
That's a good point, because Nathan, a friend of mine, Nathan, who was bringing me out to Area 51, this is when I was speaking at Utah a couple of years back, we stopped at like 6 ghost towns. I'm serious. These are ghost towns. These things are dilapidated, falling down. And, you could even look at some of these buildings. You did not want to go walking in some of these buildings, especially at nighttime.
No.
Bad enough walking around these things in daytime. You'd step in here. Yeah, it might be haunted. It might not be haunted. Even if it's not, it may kill you, and you might be haunted next. But you do, and at least 4 of the towns we went into, if you're empathic at all, you really felt a heavy, heavy feeling in these towns. Not enough for me to want to go investigate them, I'm not going to lie, but enough that if you're a good researcher, you would have known there was something in these places. And Nathan talked about some of the stuff he's seen, but Nathan also explored a lot of Native American spots all out through Arizona and New Mexico and Utah. And he told me a lot about a lot of these spots, a couple of spots up on top of mountains and places. And I'm sure some of these places are going to be seriously haunted, especially the way the white man treated the red man for 100 years. And there's no doubt that you're going to find things. But that's also the reason why things like a lot of these plantations are haunted down here. Because of the way we were treating particular individuals at the time. People were killed there, hung there, shot there. All kind of nasty things, vivisections and things along like that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what vivisection is, look it up. I'm not going to tell you how big. You hear a lot of these stories, but what's funny is, or I should say it's funny, down here, some of it's not true. So some of the plantations did not treat their slaves that way, because slaves were like buying a Ferrari back in the day. You didn't want to chop your slave or beat your slave up because you just wasted all that money you just spent. Slaves were not cheap. They cost a lot of money to buy. That's what people didn't realize. People always say how they were treated. Well, that's not necessarily true for all of them. And then there was another problem. When we freed the slaves, well, most of them had been used to being taken care of, so they didn't really have an idea of how life was going to work after that. So there was a lot of weird stuff that happened to them after that. A lot of their own self, even a lot of them bought their own slaves. It was a strange thing back in the day. So there's not a lot of truth to a lot of the history we get. But there are, like the Myrtles. There's no doubt the Myrtles is haunted. Anybody who walks through that place for 5 minutes knows it's haunted.
It's beautiful, too.
Loretta Lynn, it's the same with her plantation.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
there's several,
Louisiana.
and a lot of people focus on the Louisiana plantation, but they forget they're in Alabama and Georgia as well, and even in Florida. So you can find these. Well, they're not as known as the Myrtles or a couple of the other ones that are down here, but they're just as haunted, and they're easier to get to as far as getting to stay and stuff like that, because one, they're not going to be as expensive. The Myrtles has made a business out of this now. I mean, they make a business out of everything, but they have made a business out of of the haunting part. And I have personally seen a I guess you'd call it a Victorian woman walking across the promenade. Looked like a very beautiful woman, very young though, probably in her mid-20s. Obviously, something killed her. You couldn't tell; it didn't show in the way they looked. But I've heard about slaves walking around, other people walking around. But for some reason, the ghosts of the Myrtles don't seem to be hostile. At least not from anybody I know that's investigated them. They don't seem to be vicious or malicious or things like that. Matter of fact, a very good researcher of mine, fairly famous one, we were talking one day, he goes, he kind of reminds me of Casper. I'm like, what? I didn't know what to say when he said it. I'm like, Casper, what the hell are you talking about?
Benign.
He's like
Yeah.
kind of playful, kind of energetic, but not really harmful. He said, I haven't had equipment destroyed yet because he did an investigation in Antoine's and had almost $7,000 worth of equipment destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, wow.
Antoine's is, of course, that's where Anne Rice says that the vampires live, because when you walk into Antoine's, there's a hallway you go into to the restaurant. And down the hallway, there's a picture of all the former owners. It's about 200 years. And when you look at them, they're all dressed in period clothes, but they all look the same. It looks like the same person. I understand why she said it when you look at them. You're like, really? It does look like the same person. But the Court of Two Sisters is the same way. There's several restaurants down here that are 2 and 3 and 4 stars, 5 stars they're definitely haunted. There's no bad. And a good friend of ours and an acquaintance or another one of the hosts, they like to do ghosts with the dinner with a ghost, and they were doing them down here. And so the 12th person or 13th person is the ghost. They put them at the head of the table, and a lot of times they show up. A lot of times they don't. Though it's hit and miss on that kind of stuff. Ghosties don't always come on demand, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And then, and a lot of people like to walk around with all kind of protection stuff on them. If you're doing that, ghosties don't come around you anyway. You're going to be like, well, I'm not going by that idiot. I'm going to go over here and do this or that. And then there's, I guess, what you call imprints that just seem to be like a flip in time or a recording, just like a piece. Yeah, it's just something you'll watch. And
A replay.
It's what it really is. I don't think it's so much a ghost as it is just something that's imprinted on time right there. I'm not even sure how you get rid of those. Since it doesn't seem to be anything haunting, it just seems to be some kind. And it's not always a bad experience. Like the one and a couple of the really famous people who live down here down in St. Charles, they talk about them dancing around like at the ball, like they're having just like it's an image of just a group of people dancing at a ball or walking down the promenade or walking under the oaks. Because a lot of the homes down here have 200-year oak trees with these big long walks underneath them. And back in the day, that's what they used to do. They used to walk under the oaks or through like in City Park. City Park is massively haunted all over because that's where dueling oaks are. But the dueling oaks, I would tell you that the ghosts are probably more hostile. But if you get over by like where the carousels and all that, they seem to be much more playful. So it's a weird mix down here. And Linda and I've been through there many, many times at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we'll ride through there and it's all like, ooh. And sometimes like, oh shit, we're getting out the park. They haven't even seen anything and we're getting out the park. So I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's like Canada. Y'all are as old as we are, so we're not near as old as Europe, mind us, but we're all 200-300 years old, and it seems like those kind of things just kind of happen. They just get instant replays. Now, I've never really heard of that many places in Canada. That would be more y'all's spirit, but I do hear from time to time at different locations and different places that are haunted, and I would think what is the oldest city in Canada?
Probably Quebec cities, probably oldest, isn't it? For the most part, any of the East Coast cities probably
Halifax
would be working their way in.
Montreal.
Old Montreal
Quebec
is old,
cities,
but it's not as old as Quebec.
No, Quebec City's still older. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question?
I have a question.
I have a question. With these plantations, there is one that I saw on television that actually had a scrying room, but for the life of me, I don't remember which one it was. And they had a black mirror in a door. It was like a small closet, and they would go in and scry. So, yeah, you're going to keep things alive if you're doing that.
I have a very large black mirror.
Yes, I know you do.
Like, I hate that thing.
Amelia hates it. Doesn't use the bathroom upstairs for a reason. Just saying.
Yeah,
but
it's old.
I pretend it's not there. I'm just like, yeah. I can't look at it. I can't look at it because I'm always afraid that I'm going to get something looking back. But there's one of the plantations that has an actual scrying room. And I was just as well. I have heard of certain locations which was just sold. And I remember going through the Lizzie Borden house and the man at the time, this was 2019, I believe. It was right before all this crap happened. Anyways, he had said to me that, oh yeah, the teams come in, investigate, and I know he's no longer there, so I can say this. And they'll use the Ouija boards we have upstairs to communicate. And I'm just like, oh, for the love of God, you know.
Well, a lot of the old plantation people were into that kind of stuff.
But the Lizzie Borden house, it's a great way of keeping it open and alive as well if you're doing a Ouija board, because it's not necessarily Lizzie that's there, but someone is. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Victorians were big into the spirituality. They loved, you know, anything that was sort of macabre. They liked picnicking in cemeteries. They the ones that started the whole spiritual movement. They loved to do seances and table tipping and spirit communication of any type, you know. So if the place goes back to Victorian times, you know, especially here in the West, you're going to see that all over the place. They love that stuff.
Yeah. I found that the Hawthorne House in Salem had a lot more activity than Lizzie Borden's in the falls there.
I had a question come in actually for Laura Lee. So, what is her name? Brenda. She asked. She said she heard you talking about your other house a couple of times and how haunted it was. She just wanted to know, did anything follow you to the new place?
Yeah, I've had that asked lots. Not to the level that it was in that house. And the funny thing is Michelle, we were on Paranormal Survivor, and Michelle actually commented on our episode, but I didn't know you at the time. It was really severe. And it started with a dream about 16 years ago, something demonic or claimed to be demonic, told me its name, spelt it. I couldn't find this name for the love of God for years, and quite by accident I found it. Anyways, there were 4 main entities. I think there were portals open in that house. So when we moved here, if Del was on here, he'd probably grab it and show you. Our puppy that we have has this llama that's really floppy. There's no way it could stand up. And we were in the hallway and we finished each other's sentence because the llama stood up and took 2 steps and fell over. And Del just said, "Did you just see?" And I said, "That llama take 2 steps and fall over?" And then around New Year's, I remember Del came running upstairs and said, "I was outside." And he goes, "I was coming in the house and I felt something burning and grabbed my back." I remember talking to you about that, Michelle. And he ran upstairs to tell me, and I said, "What the HEL did you come up here for? You should have went out the back door and told it to leave." But it was just something passing through. So yeah, we do have some things, but the way I explain it, what Spirit has shared, is exactly what many have been saying here. I think Amelia, you said it, like it's like a bright light for people that are aware of their gifts, and it's not just the positive that can see you. There are lower vibrational entities that also can see it. So they're always gonna be able to know that there are people that are sensitive or can pick up on or what have you. But to answer the question fully, knocking on wood, nothing as severe as what was in the previous home whatsoever.
That's a plus.
That's good.
That's a plus, because, you know, over the years I've seen some weird shit go down. You know, I was thinking when Marie Laveau was alive, black arts were big in New Orleans, really, really big. They still are. There are several covens down here, but there still were. It was still really big there, and it's carried kind of forward since then. But if you go walking around the French Quarter, you will find 3 or 4 witch shops, and people tell me all the time, "Oh, they're just fake." I said, "No, those actually belong to covens." I said, "There's a covenant that runs those shops." I said, "So be careful when you're pissing these people off." I said, because somebody asked me, "Does voodoo dolls work?" I said, "Well, go get one and find out." I said,
one thing I will add, Joe, though, and my oldest son told me this. Both my boys can communicate with animals ever since they've been little, but my oldest one has never lived here. And he just bought his own house. He's got something in his basement that I told him we really should deal with. But it's up to him. It's his house. But when he came over here, he goes, "Mom, do you know there's a little black cat here?" And I said, "Yeah, I wonder what was going on." Because one of my cats in particular is constantly meowing and trying to get under the door to the basement and will not stop. Like normally the only way she acts like that if there's a bug and there's nothing there. I don't know if it's this cat in spirit, but I've seen it since too. I don't know why it's here.
Cat might want to get there and take it out. Some cats can scare off demons and spirits.
That might be what she would. I will tell you, I've had some strange stuff happen on the outside though. I've had this very strange looking cat desperately trying to get into the house. I mean, I've got a German Shepherd here that's right at the door. There's no way any cat, I don't care how much like dogs would want to be running into a giant, huge black German Shepherd, because I don't think she'd let it in the house. Really, like strange stuff on the outside, but not on the inside, just to add to that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. Well, I was talking to some friends up in New York the other day, up there, not far from where Michael's at. And we were talking, well, first we were talking about some stuff going on in the Hudson Valley. They were telling me about UFO stuff. But then he starts talking about places he was investigating where supposable ETs were showing up that actually he figures were some type of ghosties or something. He said it didn't feel alien, it didn't look alien. He said, when I talked to the individuals, Joe, he said, I've known you well enough to know what you would consider alien movement. He said, it's not what it was. He said, even though it's big in that area, he said, these houses were definitely haunted. He said it was 4 in a row, old, at least 100 years old. He said it was like they were moving from house to house to house and coming back. Matter of fact, I wanted him to send me his address because I'm going to send it over to Michael and tell Michael would take a look at it and see what he thought. Because I have, I'm in New Orleans. I couldn't really tell him beam about what's going up there. But he really feels like it's. But like I said, he's a ufologist. He's not a ghost chaser. But he said he's caught some weird stuff on film up there, and he's been hanging around trying to figure out what it is. And then he said the very last day he was there, and it sounds like something right out of a classic movie. He said, "Get them out." And he said, "You know what? I packed up my stuff and I got them out." And it was like, well, that's probably a good thing, man. It's probably, well, if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't screw with it. I mean, it's going to end up biting you, you know what? That's the best way to handle it. But Randy was telling me about some pizza joint in Brooklyn. He said it's haunted beyond belief. He said some place has been there for quite some time. It's always been a restaurant of some sort over the years. He said every time he goes in a place, he gets the heebie-jeebies. He said, I get my pizza and run out. And he said, I've asked the guy a couple of times. He said, oh, yeah, they see all kind of weird stuff going on. He said when he first got there, the first time he put his pizza ovens in, he said the very next day, he said pizzas kept sliding out on the floor. He said, what are these ovens on angle? What the hell's going on? Because he thought maybe the oven was tilted. Obviously, you could have seen the oven tilted enough to let a pizza slide out.
That's crazy.
And he said, really piss anymore. So he got
what a waste.
He got those childproof kitty things and put on the arm of the door to keep it from doing it. And it still was doing it. He was like,
was they saying that pizza was no good? It deserves to be on the floor.
So, I don't know
whatever they cut out of their ingredients, whoever it was, man, they didn't agree.
There you go.
It was things run.
Italian ghost.
That's it.
He didn't say they were vicious other than that. He said he didn't they like destroy. He said, but they were like sliding pizzas out. And he said it lasted for about a month. And he said he got a Catholic priest to come in. And Catholic priest said, "There's nothing I can do for you." Turned around, walked out.
It's not like on TV. They don't come in willingly.
They don't always.
No.
Only if there's some kids hanging around.
Yeah, that's about right. See, that's a scary part.
Maybe they went back to the original recipe.
I don't know, but he said it hasn't happened in a while, but he said he likes the pizzas there. But I asked him if it was Brooklyn style pizza being where he's at. He said no, it's like pan pizza and thin crust pizza. And I was like, well, send me something. I'll see if it's haunted. I'll put a haunted meter on the pizza.
Haunted pizza.
Oh man, it was just
under the cheese.
But I've heard that in Chicago too. There's a place in Chicago, underground place in Chicago, that they say they have the same problem with it. Food gets thrown around from time to time.
That's common though in bars. Glasses fly around. We did a bar, man. There was like glasses sliding off of the thing and flying across the room. Very common. Yeah,
I've heard about that in English pubs a lot. A good friend of mine over there said,
"This is a pub I'm talking about."
He quit drinking over. He said
in England.
He said they went to 4 or 5 pubs one night. He said every pub they went in, like a beer would go flying across the bar, across the counter. He said that was enough for me. He said I don't know if they put something in my beers. He said, but I quit after that. I was like, dude, well, you sure you was just drinking, man? You weren't stoking or popping something?
I'm so with the pub thing. There's a pub that.
What you did, Amelia?
You muted yourself.
No, the ghost said, "Shut up."
That's weird, man. Look at that.
Okay.
So
there you go.
Got it. Sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Accident. So there's this pub that opened up just down the street from me called Vicar's Bite. And at the time when it first opened, one of my husband's friends was one of the partners. So I went in. They opened it in a church that was built in 1692.
Nice.
I can only tell.
That's huge in Europe. They're all over the place.
Not sit through a lunch there. I don't get scared easily, but like Michelle, I startle very easily, like extremely, probably the worst baby ever. But I couldn't sit through it. I could see, because the restaurant was up top, so it's almost like you're in the rafters of the church, and looking down, I could see, being a medium, I could see the funeral processions going in and out, and horse and buggies and all this stuff. And I was just like, what the hell, man? Like, this is literally 3 kilometers from my house. This is insanity.
Imprint, maybe.
Residual. I don't know, because I felt like there was a lot of residual, like you said, with the funeral, but then the other, I would not use the bathroom. I literally got through, I don't even know how much of my lunch. And I'm like, she's like, do you want to take it to go? I'm like, absolutely don't want to take anything from here to go. Thank you. Here's your tip. I'm out of here. As
Joe would say, dimensional bleed.
Yeah, and he asked,
freaking drive that one home.
Well, he asked John, he's like, well, what did your wife think? He goes, well, she didn't stay long enough. Like, it wasn't to see if it was haunted. He just was asking, what did your wife think about the food? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't get that far.
Fine, but the ghost really sucked.
We tell them not to come with us. You stay here, And I mean,
that's the worst thing, right, Michael? How many people say, you can come home with me?
Yep.
You coming home with me?
Yeah.
The hell with that?
It's crazy when they do. I mean, like my friend Pete and I just kind of look at each other like, what the fuck? Like when people say that, you're like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, no, I know what I'm doing. I have experience.
No. I don't think any of them have had real experiences, because if they did, they would never invite them to continue home with them. No.
Especially a child.
That's
especially a child, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
No mischievous thing. Well, any place we move into, new Linda always sets up. She's got these 6 tarots she uses, and she sets them up over the doors, and just to keep stuff out of the houses. Because when we first got married, there was always shit coming and going.
I put a broom over the
door. A lot
door.
of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Too,
Brooms work too.
We went a lot of weird stuff when we were young, and every now and then just shit would show up or things would follow us around. And after a while, we both got tired of dealing. It's like the Ouija board. We're doing a Ouija board when I nodded on, and I'm, I didn't believe it. We doing bullshit. This is crap bullshit. Like 30th, and I wasn't even about 28. And we're doing a Ouija board, and they're all doing it. And I said, well, if you're real, just knock on the ceiling here. I'm like, oh shit, what was that? Because I knew who was upstairs, and there wasn't nobody upstairs. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I said, nah, it's bullshit. Do it again. They did it again. So all right, I took the board, threw it in the fireplace. I was into the board. It went bye-bye.
Yeah, don't do that at home, people.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't listen to Joe.
That's why the Ouija board got
Don't
burned.
throw it in a fireplace. It doesn't work.
Baby got cooked, man. I send them straight to hell.
That's not how it works, but anyway.
And I even seen the blue flame as it sucked down in my fireplace, man. Yeah, you got to know the words to use, but you can send them straight to hell.
Yes.
Okay. I'm telling you, what I learned from Crowley's people, you'd be surprised how easy it is to send something to hell, including a live person. So keep that in mind, people.
Really?
Somebody asked me one time. He said, "Joe, how do you dispose of people when you kill them in the swamp?" I said, "I just feed them to the gators." And they were like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Somebody aggravates me, I just shoot them, take them up, throw them in the gators, and after about an hour, there's nothing left." I said, "Gators are easy." I said, "Down here, you can go out in the swamp, there'll be 500-600 gators around. You throw a body out there, it's gone in minutes." And they're like, "You're serious, aren't you?" And my friend Jay, y'all met Jason before, the pain in the ass that he is. He's like, "Yeah, that's what he does." It just went wild after that. I was like,
That's
"Okay,
crazy.
people, really?" I said, "Would I be out of prison if I was feeding people to the gators?" And some lady called in. She goes, "Well, there's no evidence, Joe."
She's right.
I think, well, maybe you're right. I said, that just tells you don't piss me off.
She has a good point.
But that's like the people who, I get a call one night from a colonel. This was so hilariously funny. He said, "I heard you're in charge of all military abductions in the United States." I was like, "What?" And I didn't even know how to answer him. I was like, "What?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, maybe you should go look at my checking account, because if I was in charge of military abductions, man, it'd be way fatter than what it is right now." I'm like, "Man, it'd be like 7, 8 zeros up in there. Not 6, it'd be 8. And he's like, "Oh, okay, not really." I said, "No, it's just a room." He said, "Are you sure? It comes from a reliable source." I said, "No, I investigate them. I'm not in charge of them." I said, "It's not like I'm pulling people's names and saying, here, go probe this individual and that individual." That was just hilarious funny. But, and I was listening to, what's his name, the guy from Face Off, not John Travolta, Nicolas Cage. I was listening to him talk about his house down here. And this woman walks up and down the stairs. He's got this up staircase, and then he's got a balcony that runs across, and then there's Eve hanging down. And she used to walk up in her dress and walk across, just like a normal Victorian woman would have done back in the day. And he said every time she got to the door, it would turn into this horrible face. I was like, well, what are you doing, pissing her off? Like apparently, he sold the house eventually. He got rid of it. It got to be enough. And him and a few other famous people who have walked around the corner at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning have realized that the city is much more haunted than you think it is. And thanks to Katrina basically cleaned all the ghosts out of the suburbs and forced them into the city. Because the whole city was flooded with salt water except for the quarter because it's above sea level.
Oh, that's right.
So it concentrated them in the quarter. There was already enough of them there, but then it kind of pushed them all in there. And now you go to quarter, it's packed. People walking around 4 o'clock in the morning, they walk in that street just like you are, doing their thing, walking in the cathedral. Pirates Harbor, I should say, where they used to sell the slaves on the right side of the cathedral is really haunted, but the left side is where they used to hang the slaves. And so it's just as haunted. The whole area is just haunted. I tell people all the time, I said, look, when you're really loaded, I said, your guard is way down. You're way acceptable to things. I said, you're open. You're way more open than you would normally be. You're way more relaxed. I said, you just inviting things to come in and get your ass. I said, just go and keep walking around there and see what you can take home with you. And I tell you what, a lot of people will call me who've been down to the city visiting and say, Joe, you're right. I got an attachment. I had to get rid of it. And they'd fly all over like Maryland somewhere, and they got a ghost with them. I'm thinking, you should have listened to the first place. It's great for people like us because even loaded, my guard's going to stay up. But a lot of people just don't seem to be able to handle it. And it is a really, really haunted city. I mean, it's always been a haunted city. It was haunted. It was haunted when it was built because it was built on, half the city was built on Indian burial grounds. So, I mean, you already got that haunted, and God knows how many people, the English and the Spanish and everybody else killed down there, and then the white man killed even more. It's just, if you want to come get haunted, it's a good place to hang out and see. A lot of, like, the Royal Sonesta's haunted. A couple of the big hotels are haunted. The Monteleone's another place that was built right on top of an Indian burial ground. It's just haunted as could be. When you talk to people who work there, I've talked to a couple of people over the years, butlers and different people who work there, concierge and stuff like this. I said, the place is unbelievably haunted. I said, why are you still working there? Because it pays really, really good. So apparently they pay you for working in the haunted places.
Well, because they probably can't keep employees, but your cemeteries and your graves are so beautiful.
And the city's surrounded by them. That's the other freaky part.
They're beautiful, though.
But I will tell you that Marie Laveau is not buried in Cemetery 1 or Cemetery 2. And that's where everybody says she's buried, but she's not. She's buried out in the swamp in a private cemetery where her family buried people. And yes, I have found it. It took a long time to find the location, but I only found it because I met her grandson. John DeSalvo got pissed at me on radio, and I said, John, I know her grandson. He's a friend of mine.
That would be funny.
Actually, it's her like great grandson, but still, we got to talking one night. Met him in a club. Good looking guy too. We got to talking, and he said, I've heard you on the radio before. I said, yeah, I do a little radio here and there. He said, yeah, I've heard you talk about the city and how much the city. He said, I heard you one night talking about my great-grandmother. And it surprised me, when he said it. And we got to talking, and he said, do you really want to know where she's buried? He said, but you got to keep it a secret. And I said, yeah, sure.
As he blabs it off to 2 million people just now.
No, I didn't say where it was. There's lots of
If you ever
spots
want
around
something out, just tell Joe.
You won't find it. You'd have to have a guide to take you there. You're not going to find it otherwise. Matter of fact, most of y'all would probably end up getting hurt or eaten by gators trying to find the damn place. It's where she used to do a good majority for witchcraft at. People used to think she practiced in the city. She did practice some of it, but most of it was outside on private land they had. Way out there, they had a cabin out there, a nice cabin out there in the swamp, which is still there, by the way. And but you're not going to find it unless you know where it's at. You could walk that swamp. The swamps are huge down here.
They're cool, man. The swamps are cool. There's so much nature. There's flowers. It's just so beautiful, They're really cool.
And the grave
and there's alligators yawning.
I'll have to play that for you. We'll get ready to end the show in a few minutes.
Do alligators fart? I assume they do. Is there a certain noise you equate to?
It sounds like what a human does. It bubbles out the water.
little jacuzzi going on.
It's now the gators are funny because they hiss and they growl and they croak and stuff.
I know they hiss, but I assume they yawn.
They actually sound like if you ever watched a movie like like the dragon when he growls at you. That's what they sound like. It's probably what they're using actually is alligator sound. They sound like big ass reptiles, is what they are. But if you don't know what they are and you're out there in a swamp, it's gonna scare the bejesus out of you. You're gonna be like, "What the hell was that?" Especially a big one, because big ones have them big, deep voices. And they go out for the echoes for miles. So especially at swamp at nighttime, it echoes for a good range. It does freak people out, especially if damn Yankees. Just scares the hell out of them.
You know what? I really have no business being in a place like that. I have to say, man. I don't know. I don't know. When you're like, if you're just in the swamp and there's noises, man, I'm sure there's a whole slew of stuff.
There's also brown bears down here and black bears, and there's
panthers. You got panthers, right?
Yeah, they swear we don't have panthers, but they've been cited like 500 times. I asked a local guy who does it. He said, "No, there's no panthers down here." I said, "Why does people keep seeing?" Oh, they're crazy. I said, "Dude, I've seen hundreds of pictures of panthers down here." I said, "Honestly, dude, somebody's not."
Heck, we have them here.
I was just going to say that, Michelle, and you just came out. I was like, we have panthers as well. We don't just have the lynx. We also have panthers.
Cougars. We don't have any cougars or mountain lions, but we got the panther birds. And
we do have panthers.
And they
panthers. We have lynx.
Here in Niagara.
You hear about people talking about them, piecing them at night. A couple of guys thought, one was talking to these ghost hunters, and they thought that some kind of ghost was following them at night. I said, "What did it sound like?" He said, "It sounded like it was heavy breathing." And then it made this sound like a woman scream. So it was a freaking panther, dude. I said, "You shouldn't even been where the hell you were. You lucky you didn't get eaten." And I'm like, because if you especially, that's why Martha comes with me on every trip. Not so much for the animals. The animals usually going to leave me alone. I'm more worried about the weirdo humans you find out in the middle of the swamp in the middle of the night. What the hell are they doing out there besides us? And every now and then
you do the scene from Deliverance.
Yeah, that's right. So
sorry, I had to say it.
No, it's crazy. You don't know who you're going to run into out there. So I tell people all the time, don't go. I had done a video.
I'll leave that right there.
Swamp. Yeah, well, I'd done a video on hunting the swamp, and I showed people where to go. Right? And I told
people, Joe.
Don't go out unless you're in a big group. Be careful. Well, because it's true. Deliverance shit will happen.
The show started off with gay sex. It is ending with gay sex, man. There's something going on there.
Oh, Michael. The reason you keep talking about gay sex, man, I'm getting worried
Joe
about
started it.
Your dreams
the more you know. You seem to be recognizing it, Michael, so I don't know.
My antenna's up all the time for everything.
Your attention.
So I had to look over to see what time it was, but it's spooky down here. You gotta be really careful when you're out there, because you never know who you're gonna run into or what you're gonna run into. And some guy we're out with a big group one night out looking for UFOs, right? Lasers and stuff. I said, look, so they're like, what we might see. So we're driving along, all of a sudden like 60 hogs come out of nowhere, big, huge monster hogs, and they're crossing a thing, and then they stop because they had like 40 little piglets come on side of them. And I was like, let's get out. I said, don't get out your car. He's like, I said, these are wild hogs. They're extremely aggressive. So smart ass opens the door where the hog just rams the door shut. I'm like, dude, what did I just tell you? I said, they got red Russian boys out here with 6-inch fangs. Stay the hell away from them. There's tusk coming out of their face, unless you're going to shoot them, leave them alone. And now they don't hunt much anymore down here, so they're everywhere. So you got to be careful because they will walk them.
They're all over other countries. I mean, people have an unbelievable problem with them.
And they are nuisance animals because they will root up a thing like nothing. And now they're in big packs down here. Now, the calmest thing I ever seen out there, we watched a fawn being dropped one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. We were coming out, and I hit the Q-beam, and I was like, what is that, a deer? And she wouldn't move on the Q-beam. Because usually when the Q-beam hits the deer, unless you hit it in the face, it runs. And she's just standing there looking at us. All of a sudden, you see her drop the fawn. The fawn got the whole thing on videotape. The fawn gets up, stands up, wiggling, waggling and stuff. Very cool scene. It's one of the only peaceful scenes I've seen out there. The place it's haunted. It used to be Indians used to live there for a long time until NASA took it over. NASA owns all that land now.
Now there's aliens instead, ghosts.
There's still ghosty out there too, because that's where I got that videotape of the guy walking across the high. And you see, that irritates me. We're driving along just about 25 miles out through on a gravel road with the video camera running. And didn't see anything. Get home, watching the tape. Like 6 months later, watching the tape. Some guy in boots, jeans, flannel shirt, nice haircut, parted to the side, little mustache, walking across. I mean, that's how much detail it was walking across the road. But you could see he was translucent. But he was aware of us because he looked well, maybe he was looking at somebody else, but he looked right at the car. So I figured he was looking at us. Man, it might have been something else behind us we just didn't see. And that's also where we seen the black thing, which no one has figured out what it is yet. I've got reports of the black thing all across this country, all across y'all's country, all across Europe. And people, the black thing is something that gives you an unreal sense of fear. When you see this thing, so for us, we're way back in the swamp, 14 miles back, deep in the swamp. So Linda and I are talking. I got the moonroof open. We're in the black Nissan. The car is black. There's no silver on it anywhere. The rims are black. The bumpers are black. So we're sitting there, and we're just talking. And for some reason, I stepped on the brake. I might have done it by accident. And when I did, I was looking in the rearview mirror. I could have swore I seen like the blackness move towards the car. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, you're crazy, Joe. So I can tell you what we're doing. We're smoking weed, actually. And so I said, let me just do it again. So I put the brake on, and this thing come rushing up. I said, screw this. I popped this car in second and just punched it. I mean, we're clocking speeds of 100 through. I thought Linda was going to kill me. And we're just cruising through the swamp. I come up, I'm going so fast as I get to where the blacktop road is. I just cut the car sideways and just slid up and popped up and dropped onto the blacktop like that. Reached my head, my 380 with me, stuck it out the window and went pop. And each time I popped, the light from the barrel, you could see this black thing just getting closer to it. And it didn't even phase it. So I said, screw this. I punched it. So we're headed for interstate. Now it's another 10 miles down this blacktop road. And this road, rickety bridges and shit. I'm just flying. And this thing was pacing us. It was staying right there. And every time I touched the brakes, I could see it rushing up. What bothered me is I knew it was moving fast enough it could have overtook us, but it never did. So there's a cattle guard right at the end of the swamp. I'm flying. I didn't want to hit this cattle guard at 100 miles an hour. I was scared to blow out my tires. So I start slowing down because I knew I had to slow down. And it was coming up faster, and I hit the lights, and it just kind of slowed down. And then across the cattle guard, and it stopped. It just stopped it. Now, this is a fear I've never experienced before. I've experienced fear, but not on a level like this. This was terrifying. This was an unreal fear. It's the only way I can describe it.
What do you think it is?
Some people think it's a hologram that the government's using to run people off, but I've had friends in Arizona experience it, people in New Mexico, out in places where it's heavy alien activity. Some people think it has something to do with the aliens. I've had people in 3 different provinces in Canada tell me about it, all over Europe. It just seems, and it's unreal. I mean, everybody will explain it the same way. It kind of takes a form. Sometimes it even looks like a person at one point, but it takes a form, and it's moving really fast. But to put it in perspective, the people who seen it in Arizona was on bicycles, and it never caught up with them. Now, I'm doing 100 and staying on my bumper, so it could have easily overtook the bicycle.
I just talked about skinwalkers on my last show, man.
I don't know what it was, dude, and it is never experienced it out there again. Been back to that location 50, 60 times. Don't know what the hell it was. Hope I don't experience it again because
Would you fear a hologram?
No,
if it's a hologram.
It just had to be an empathic, something that was directly into my head. Because I've never, like I said, neither one of us have ever experienced fear on this level before.
It's an implant. Maybe you're abducted and there's an implant in there, man.
It might be. I don't know what this was, but I've been in some scary, hairy spots in my life and never, ever had fear like this.
Theory. Let's say it's a hologram. Let's say it's got some sort of, like it connects to you per se. Maybe because you're speeding like crazy, maybe it's keeping up because maybe it's you, your mind.
I don't know what it is. It's freaky though.
It's a hologram. What can a hologram do?
You can tell it exists because when I shot it, it paused for a second as it lit up. Only the light made it pause. The bullet didn't make it pause. It was just a light. And even when the lights came up from the bumper, it would from the back of the car, it would pause for a second.
Yeah, that sounds natural. That doesn't sound like a hologram. The hell it was.
And it was something that was definitely under intelligent control because you could see how it reacted to both the gun and the car. And it was so weird because, I don't know, we were back there that night. We were doing some serious investigation that night. And we had a lot of equipment with us. And we had the moonroof open, and we were under these trees so we could look up. We knew there had been reports of saucers and other things coming through there and ground walkers being seen out there. So we figured we were in the right location. And I don't know, when I hit the bumper, so this tells you it could have overtook us at any time because it was behind the car. I only seen it because I accidentally hit the taillights. And there it was. And when I hit the taillights again, it rushed up closer to the car. So the whole time we were sitting there, which was like an hour, it could have any time overtaken us. And it just didn't.
It was there, yeah.
It was just, it felt like to me that it was just a warning, stay away from here. You don't need to be here. But I don't know because the fear was so intense. It was so intense I couldn't even think anymore. And it was just it was like dripping fear. I'm just, like I said, I've never experienced it before or since. And I've been in some hairy, scary places that most people would just not go. And I don't know what it was. And then
My gosh,
a
if
couple
you
people
were
in the house-
scared,
and
if
I
you
don't
were
get-
scared,
I-
I'd probably faint.
I don't get scared either, man. I just don't. And it was a
No.
crazy experience. And some of the other people, to put this in perspective, the guy who's seen in New Mexico was an Air Force pilot. He was a colonel. He'd been flying all his life. He'd been in combat 3 times. He said, "Joe, I don't." He couldn't even speak when he called me. That's how scared he was. And then when he finally got it out, he's like, "I'm telling you, it was the same thing you described in the swamp." He said, "I don't know what the hell it was." He said, "It's just unreal." He said, "I was wishing I was in a fighter jet at the time so I could just get out of there." And then the people on the bike said, matter of fact, the 3 on the bicycle, this was the weird part. They were riding as fast as they could, and the woman in the middle actually passed out from the fear. So they stopped to pick her up, put her back. So he could have overtook her right then, and it just didn't. It was always just getting close enough to keep you at that level of fear, but not close enough to overtake you, which to me seemed like some type of warning or some type, stay away. I still don't.
Stop and do battle, man. The
Hey,
power
did
of
stop and do
Jesus
battle,
Christ.
man.
I
shoot
will
Billy
strike
Bob
you
out
from
the
this
window.
earth.
And Billy Bob did
Okay,
not care.
He-Man, thank you.
Wow, Hercules in the building.
Hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You're screwed. But at least you tried.
I've taken people back there since.
Might be scary because, it's easy enough if you know you're dealing with some sort of entity or spirit that you're familiar with, because there's enough out there. Enough people have done it where they have their theories as to what works and what doesn't. But when it's something that you've never seen or experienced, or a majority of people haven't, it's only maybe, a few people that, contact you or discuss it, like, there's really not, like, you're kind of left like you're a sitting duck in a way.
Well, it's more understanding your fear, because fear is just fear. It doesn't. The situation doesn't matter if you understand your fear and the perception. Then you can conquer those things, and mostly it comes down to our lives. Am I going to lose my life from a situation?
I've been in situations where I could have lost my life and still had that kind of fear. A couple of times I'm surprised we actually didn't lose our lives, and still there wasn't that kind of fear.
But do you think spiritually?
Sorry, Michael.
Do you think spiritually that can connect with you? You know what I mean? Like if they're a negative entity, they can put that in you.
It didn't feel like that. It felt like it was directly beamed into my head. It didn't. That's why I said it felt like it was so intense to me that it just felt like it was unreal. And even at the time, I knew part of my mind was saying, "Joe, it's unreal," and I still couldn't control the fear, which was amazing to me because I've never had fear I couldn't control before. I was just like, what the?
Yeah, you don't seem like a fearful person.
No,
that just answered my question. Then what about it? Like, what is it about it you feared the most? So you sort of got Michael and I at the same time. With that.
It just I don't know, and it's still, when I think about it today, I still get this weird sense of fear in the back of my head, but it really did. In a way, it felt like it was just being drilled into my head, like something was putting it there. And even when we were 50 miles away from the damn place, and I still was having a hard time shaking it off. And I was like, actually, I went out that night later on in the night because I had to get it out of my head. And then eventually it just went away and didn't bother me. And we've been in places, look, Linda and I put ourselves in some hairy, scary places. Like the funny one, we pulled in this. We're in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, in the swamp. We had to turn around, so we went down this hill to turn around. And the cars on the gravel road, we start backing up. Billy Bob just pops up out of nowhere with his gun in his hand. We whoop! Up the hill. But I wasn't scared. It was
hence the theme song, but I won't say it.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're all hearing it.
We got to get out of here in a minute. But people don't realize you put yourself in dangerous situations, because you don't know what these crazy Cajuns are going to do to you as they catch you on their property in the middle of the night.
Probably moonshiners, man.
I'm hearing the theme to Rocky. I'm hearing the theme to Rocky as Joe's going, and I'm seeing this, and I'm punching the gas, and I'm hearing dun 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 dun.
It was crazy.
More like Deliverance. You got yourself on that wrong road,
that was
man.
so cool. That was so weird because I just
got
when
a
the car
pretty
stopped
mouth there, boy.
When I figured when the car stopped on top of on the asphalt road, it had plenty enough time to overtake us. I mean, plenty enough time.
Right.
And I just stuck the gun. I had the silver going, and I just stuck it out the window and just pop, and it stopped. And it started moving, and I went pop, but only stopped when the light encased it. The bullet didn't mean squat to it. Whatever it was wasn't scared of no damn bullets. But for some reason, the light affected it, and then the brake lights would kind of affect it. But if I'd thought about it harder at the time, I'd have kept my foot on the brake lights the whole time out the swamp. I was flying. I was like, ooh. I had to keep all my skills because I mean these roads are not meant. These roads, the speed limit back there is 20 miles an hour. I was doing about 110. These roads are not meant to speed on.
I think that our bodies, when we know something is different, or not even beyond our senses, our simple senses, inside, when we know something's different, that's what ignites that kind of fear. You know, like the time that my friend Andy and I were at Montauk, and then that thing was above us that we thought was some kind of helicopter, but it wasn't making a noise. And then as we were leaving, we got surrounded by like government cars, police cars, and all that other stuff. And they were screaming, what were you doing at the base and whatever, like this 4:30 in the morning. I was 17, 18. I mean, I didn't know there was a base there. And I was scared, not because of the cops and the guys in the suits, because of the thing. And it was weird, you know what I mean? That was like, man, I shouldn't be here. You get a feeling I shouldn't be here right now, man. You know, when in doubt, get out. You just got to go. Yeah,
I like that. When in doubt, get out.
That's the truth. That's how it should be. So, but I know we got to get out of here. So Michelle, tell them hi. Laura Lee, Amelia, Mike, and we're gonna hit the road.
Well, hi. You can find Amelia and I on the Outer Realm every Wednesday, Thursday night. 8 to 10 Central, 9 to 11 Eastern. You can find Joe and I every Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. Central.
Racking up some numbers, by the
6 to 8 Eastern on the Gray Zone Uncensored. Yeah, go vote for us. Just saying.
And I was watching the archive. It is racking up some numbers. Laura Lee?
I will be on at 9 o'clock tonight. I have a huge guest. I have Dr. Rima Labo. Her husband is pretty high up in the military. She's been talking about what we're going through right now around the world since 2009. She has her own podcast. She's quite the character. She's a physician. She's been treating autism, all kinds of things. We're going to have a big show. So she will actually be on at 9:30. My show will start at 9, so I have me for about half hour. So you'll join me. And
actually, I'm glad you said that. You made me think about something. Sorry to mean to cut you off. But when I was looking at your thing for earlier, we are on Vimeo, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I had forgot about that. We're also on Roku. I had forgot about that as well. We're on Roku. If you, there's 3 ways to get us on Roku. Actually, I forgot. We're everywhere, man. It's hard to keep track of all this crap. But we really are. We're on all of
Roku's a big deal, Joe.
I forget, you know, it's one of them things. Actually, we're on because Roku has YouTube and several other venues that we're on, and so that's the way easiest to find us there. If you have Roku, you can find us there. But if you also have Vizzo, like if you're running television like that or something like that, we're also on those as well. So I really don't know where we're not. Vimeo is different though. We're on only got a few videos up there, I think. But anyway, we'll put more of that in if I probably remembered about it again. Well, really finish what you're saying, babe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was it, actually. So I hope you guys will join me. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. We can always see StreamYard, but I will we'll be on the UFO Paranormal Radio YouTube channel. That's where I usually get people to tune in and to chit chat and join in the conversation. So I hope you'll join me. And love doing this with you guys as always. Thank you.
Delia, got anything to say, sweet, while we're going?
No, Michelle spoke for both of us, thank God. And I just want to say thank you for having
our guests.
Our guests for this week.
Yeah,
I have to look because we have a lot
can
of
split up
guests.
the announcement. So
There you go. I got this. Give me 1 second. This Wednesday night, we have Dr. Rita Louise with us. She's a returning guest, but of course, the subject matter is going to be different. So if you didn't catch it the first time, hit SoundCloud, search The Outer Realm, and you search Dr. Rita Louise, and you can catch up. On Thursday night, we have Dr. Elliot Van Dusen, who's a former RCMP officer, gone into paranormal and a parapsychologist. So that's going to be crazy ass good too. So both shows are on at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central Time, right here on United Public Radio.
Uncle Michael.
Red Pill News. Take the red pill every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Burning through the BS, man. With my own BS. Red Pill News. And, of course, Discovery Paranormal every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Tomorrow, talking about energy tied to land and how
Right.
How to deal with it, basically. But like what we were talking about a little bit earlier, I found it very interesting. When people think it is a house or a structure, it's not. It's the land, and knowing the history of that. So we'll be getting into that tomorrow night. Discovery Paranormal.
Yes. If y'all looking for me, I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And for all my liberal friends out there who I have been pissing off right now for the last 4 days, you get 2 million people listening to you, you can bitch.
Get a schoolyard, Joe.
Shoot your gun off in the air, man.
Take
Wave
your ball home.
your gun around.
But anyway, y'all, we're going to be putting up a promo. Thanks again for listening. Coming up next is the Horsefly Chronicles with Julia and Phil Syracuse. Y'all be sure to check them out in just about 10 minutes. See y'all there.
See you then.
Night.
Have a good one.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate for your favorite podcast. There are 4 amazing shows I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, the longest-running premier awards event in the podcasting space, open to shows worldwide. You can vote at podcastawards.com and nominate the following shows. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in the categories of education and storyteller drama. This show is based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard and provides writing tips and art advice from contest judges, winners, and industry professionals for writers and artists wanting to take their next step, along with the needed inspiration to keep on going. Next one, The Centralist in the category of politics and news. The Centralist is a much different news and political program. It is not opinion news, it's just the facts so you, the people, can make up your own minds on the different stories reported on. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources. Science and Beyond in the category of science and medicine. Science and Beyond is a true science-based program that explores every aspect of science, from how things work to why we need science. And where science can't explain something, we go beyond to see if we can figure it out on our own how something works. The Outer Realm in the category of society culture. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, with guests who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, cryptozoology, and anything else that would be deemed otherworldly. Nothing is off limits in the Outer Realm. Michelle is an international public figure and has spent the last 18 years working in the paranormal. Her co-host Amelia is a remote viewing medium with 9 years experience working in missing children and cold and active murder cases. So go to podcastawards.com to vote for these 4 shows and any others you enjoy listening to. That's podcastawards.com.